How many unread books are sitting in your room right now? Not books you abandoned halfway through, not books you skimmed and meant to return to, books you've never opened. Their spines are still stiff. Their pages still smell faintly of ink and glue. They sit quietly, on shelves, on desks, beside your bed, aligned, stacked, orderly, silent. And yet, they feel heavy. Every time you walk past them, something stirs in your chest. Not loud enough to be panic, not sharp enough to be guilt, just a pressure. A promise you made to yourself. A version of you that hasn't arrived yet. You tell yourself one day when life slows down, one day when you're ready, one day when you become the kind of person who reads books like that. But the days pass, the weeks blur, and the books remain. So here's the uncomfortable question no one asks out loud. What if those books aren't waiting to be read? What if they're waiting to judge you? Because there's something deeply strange about buying knowledge you never use. The moment you purchase a book, something shifts inside you. You stand a little taller. You feel more focused, more disciplined, closer to the person you want to become. But nothing has actually changed. No pages turned, no ideas tested, no habits rewritten, no discomfort endured. And yet your brain reacts as if progress has already occurred, as if effort has been made. Psychology has a name for this behavior: Bibliomania, a compulsive relationship with books. Not as instruments of learning, but as objects of identity, reassurance, and self-worth. So the real mystery isn't why humans love books. It's, why does the human mind confuse owning knowledge with becoming knowledgeable? Segment 1. When books become identity objects. Bibliomania isn't simply loving books. It's the precise moment books stop being means and start becoming ends. The word itself comes from Greek, biblion, book. Mania, madness, obsession, fixation. And historically, this wasn't a poetic exaggeration. In the 18th and 19th centuries, bibliomania was considered a genuine psychological disturbance. Physicians wrote about it, scholars debated it, families feared it. Across Europe, scholars, nobles, and intellectual elites became consumed by the urge to acquire books, not to read them, but to possess them. Collectors chased first editions with near-religious devotion. They obsessed over leather bindings, gold embossing, marginal notes left by previous owners. Some fixated on provenance who had touched the book before them, whose mind had once hovered over those same pages. The content didn't matter. Ownership did. Doctors documented men who neglected relationships, careers, and financial stability in pursuit of expanding their libraries. Families intervened. Fortunes collapsed. One physician famously described bibliomania as a fever of the mind masked as intellectual virtue. Because outwardly it looked noble. Books meant refinement. Books meant intelligence. Books meant moral superiority. But inwardly, the drive had little to do with learning. It was about identity. Owning the book meant owning the possibility of brilliance, the image of wisdom, the symbol of depth. And symbols are easier to collect than skills, because skills demand proof. Segment 2. The brain, dopamine, and the illusion of progress. Now fast forward to the modern world. We don't call it bibliomania anymore. We dress it up in healthier language. Building a reading habit, curating knowledge, investing in myself, preparing for growth. But neurologically, nothing has changed. When you buy a book, especially a self-help, psychology, philosophy, or productivity book, your brain releases dopamine, the same neurotransmitter involved in achievement, anticipation, reward. Your brain registers the purchase as progress. Here's the problem. The human brain is not good at distinguishing between effort completed, effort anticipated. Both activate similar reward pathways. This creates a psychological trap known as premature reward. You feel accomplished before accomplishing anything. So motivation doesn't rise, it drops, because effort is costly, discomfort is expensive, attention is limited. Why fight through dense pages, challenging ideas, and the quiet humiliation of not understanding, when your brain already paid you for intending to? This is why unread books tend to appear during emotional rupture points. After a breakup, when identity feels fractured, during burnout, when meaning feels distant, at the start of a new chapter, when reinvention feels possible. You're not buying information, you're buying hope. Hope that this book will fix something. Hope that this version of you will finally follow through. Hope that change can be purchased instead of endured. And hope, when left unopened, looks beautiful on a shelf. Segment 3. avoidance, control, and when the books turn against you. Psychologists describe this pattern using a concept called symbolic self-completion. When people feel incomplete intellectually, emotionally, socially, they seek symbols that signal completion. Degrees, certifications, gym memberships, meditation apps, and yes, books. The object stands in for the effort. But here's the truth most people avoid admitting. Unread books often represent avoidance, because reading isn't passive. It demands attention. It exposes ignorance. It confronts you with what you don't know and what you haven't done. Once you read the book, the fantasy collapses. No more, I could become this person. Now it's I either did time or I didn't. And that moment is threatening. So the mind delays. Days turn into months. Shelves grow taller. Stacks multiply. And eventually something shifts. The books stop feeling inspiring and start feeling oppressive. Psychologists call this object-based self-evaluation, when inanimate objects begin reflecting your perceived failures back at you. Each unread book becomes a silent accusation. Not loud, not dramatic. Just a quiet, persistent presence that says, you haven't become who you said you would. People respond in subtle ways. They avoid certain shelves. They turn spines inward. They move books into boxes, closets, other rooms. Not because they hate books, but because the books now trigger guilt, anxiety, shame. Ironically, this makes reading even less likely. So the mind searches for relief. And the fastest relief isn't reading. It's acquiring. Because new books don't judge you yet. They still represent possibility. They still whisper, this time will be different. This is how bibliomania becomes cyclical, not driven by love of knowledge, but by emotional regulation and the illusion of control. Books are stable, predictable. They don't change. In an uncertain life, they feel like anchors, even when they're never used. The twist in application. Now here's where this turns uncomfortably personal. You don't need to compulsively buy books to fall into this pattern. Have you ever saved dozens of videos to watch later that you never touched? Subscribed to educational channels but avoided clicking when the videos felt demanding? Bought a productivity system instead of changing your behavior? That's Bibliomania's psychological cousin. The brain rewarding intention instead of action. Neurologically, anticipation often feels better than execution, because execution risks failure. Execution exposes limits. Execution demands consistency. Intention is safe. Unread books, saved content, unopened courses, they're not signs of laziness. They're signs of identity conflict. You want to grow, but growth requires discomfort. So the mind compromises. It chooses the symbols of progress over progress itself. And for a moment, that feels like enough. So the next time you place a new book on your shelf, pause for a second. Ask yourself, is this book a bridge or a substitute? Because once you notice how often the human mind replaces effort with ownership, something unsettling becomes clear. This pattern doesn't stop at books. It shapes self-improvement culture, motivation addiction, hustle identity, even ambition itself. And it leads to a far darker psychological question. Why does the human mind fall in love with the feeling of progress, while quietly avoiding the pain of becoming? And that is why you need to watch the next videos.